السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
MashaAllah. How are you, man?
Alhamdulillah, I'm good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Everything is good. Everything is good here. Um,
It's not clearly not good. You're in Essex, right?
oh yeah, yeah. In Essex,
Yeah.
we've got a couple of problems, man. I think so. Recently, we've been kind of declared as the as like the starting point of the new virus. So I think that's caused a lot of problems. So now a lot of countries. I don't know. Do you have you watched the news today?
I didn't watch it today, but I don't think
Oh,
it's a new virus. I think it's a new strain of the
in
virus.
Ukraine. Yeah,
So
sorry. Yeah,
it's the
that's
same
what I meant.
virus, COVID-19.
Yeah, but a lot of countries obviously don't want this new strain leaving the UK. So a lot of people are not. Well, a lot of countries. I think about 40
Mm.
countries have banned everything
Um,
in and out of the UK.
Actually, I did see India have banned them.
Oh, so no. But again, I think that's one of the things when we come to these Muslim countries. Sometimes there's actually less precaution taken when it comes to COVID. Like I know about Pakistan,
Mm.
there's a lot of rallies taking place. The political scene's quite um, kind of volatile. And there's a lot of rallies and protests, and that's how politics kind of works there. So obviously, whenever you have those rallies, there's so much kind of there's so many options and opportunities for transmission.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, man. Yeah,
These
I don't
rallies,
know.
I said these rallies, like not just for specific political like agendas, but rallies in general, such as anti-vax or anti-lockdown rallies, have been going on in England, which is seen as a first world country. So I mean, you can't really blame them.
Yeah, that's true. But I think a lot of the cause is like people are right now with the tier 4 when it came in, like it causes people to kind of panic just themselves.
Are you panicking?
I don't know, man. Yeah, man, panicking.
How do you panic? What's the best way to panic?
um, yeah, man. How do we panic? Because panic isn't a conscious decision all the time. So sometimes it's like funny in films when there's something. It's time to panic, and the leader figure will be like, "Don't panic," and everyone will stop talking, and then like 5 minutes later, when somebody's about to die, then they ask whether they can panic, as if it's a
Mm.
conscious decision. But obviously, I think the panic I'm talking about, most people wouldn't be aware that they're panicking. There might be, and like sometimes, especially when the first COVID happened, and it was actual a lot of panic. You could feel it, like if you walked outside. Like, it's a weird kind of panic. And then if you speak to somebody and you'd feel their panic, well, personally, I'm talking from my perspective as an imam and kind of like a bit of a person who tries to calm people down. When you feel that panic and you try and explain to them, like, there's a bit of panic which you have, there's a lot of denial around panic. So, as in terms of panic, I think it's something. It's rare to find somebody who'd admit that they panic or they are
Yeah,
panicking.
I think all of us would panic when we're in particular situations. I mean, but if you panic in a group, it's really important that you have one person to calm everyone down. I just remembered a really funny incident a year ago, actually, in December 2019. I was in Spain with some friends on an Andalusian road trip. So we went through all of southern Spain and kind of visiting the Islamic heritage that is still present in Spain. So we went to Cordoba, which is obviously the where the Grand Mosque is, and it's a really kind of special place for Islamic history. So you have loads of tourists that visit there, and we rented an Airbnb. So and that day we were exploring the place, and we came back really late. I think it was like 2-3 a.m. And there was another incident with I was trying to get some filet o fish burger, but it didn't work out because we kept on saying pescado, and then that's the only word we knew, and we could Google Translate. And then they didn't understand what we were talking about. Fish, what do you mean? But anyway, so we came back that night because of this pescado wild goose chase, which the people who were there would acknowledge. So we come back, and then we had to go up in a lift to get to the Airbnb. So it was on the first floor, and the lift did
It was
say.
on the first floor.
So yeah, so we go on the
So why
ground
didn't you
floor.
walk up the stairs?
So we had like bags with us, I think, which was
Oh,
even worse. It was even worse because it said on the lift maximum 4 people, and I think it just said like without bags or anything, and it says like a
oh,
maximum kilogram. But 5 of us just couldn't be bothered going up the stairs, I suppose. So we all went in, and we all took our bags with us as well, which are like suitcases. And then it started going up, and then the lift got stuck.
mm,
And then we're like, oh, it's 2, 3, it's like 3 a.m. And then most of like 4 or 5 of us, our phones are about to die, right?
okay.
And we're pressing the thing and no one's answering. Do you know
Mm.
the like the
Alarm.
panic button? Yeah, the panic button. Yeah, it is a sort of panic button. Right, so we're pressing the alarm, and obviously no one's listening because no one's there. It's 3 a.m. and it's like a residential place. So we're there wondering what we're doing. We're panicking. And at that point, one of my friends says, "Oh, if we're gonna die, we're gonna eat Hamza, which is a friend first, because
Oh, okay.
for some unknown reason, silly boy." And then we thought, okay, let's phone the police. Well, I did. We were panicking.
But so, okay, so how did that help the situation? This identifying that the first person you're going to eat is Hamza. How did that affect the
So
energy?
that just kind of like obviously I think it was humorous, but it was like when it got real. Oh crap, we're stuck. The first thing he was like, okay, we're gonna eat Hamza because he's the biggest one. He's the oldest in age. We're
Oh
gonna
no.
eat, we're gonna eat him first. And then obviously we just laughed, and then we realized, hey, hang on, no one's coming to rescue us. It's been like 20 minutes. And then we thought, let's find one of our friends who was, mashallah, not that well. He was in panic mode, but he was quite calm. For him, he was quite calm. I think, as far as I can remember, anyway. I think it was from his phone we phoned the police. So we phoned the police, and obviously they're speaking in Spanish and they don't understand English. And the only word we know is El and like gracias and these sort of terms. So we don't know how to speak. So this guy, we had to tell him, oh, English, English. So we had to wait for a bit for him to get an interpreter. So the police telephone operator was like, "What service do you need?" And we were like, "Interpreter."
Mm.
So then he got someone from his department who could speak English, and then the guy's like, "Oh yeah, so what model are you in the lift?" And we're like, "This is the model." And they're like, "Have you tried pressing the alarm button?" We're like, "Of course we have." Right. And meanwhile, like we've got another phone, I think, which had battery, and on Airbnb, you have the person's number, but it's like masked with like the Airbnb number. So we keep on trying to phone that the person who's like in charge of the Airbnb. They're not answering because it's like 2, 3 a.m. They're wondering what we're gonna do. Should we just? And it was a proper like stuffy lift as well, like really small. And there's 5 of us in there when 4 of us should have been in there, and we've got all our suitcases.
Mm.
So then we're in the middle of the call with the police, and they're like trying to guide us through, open this, try that, and we just don't know what to do. And then the lady finally picks up, right? And she's like, "Oh, what the hell? What the hell's going on?" And we're like, "Oh, we're stuck in the lift." And she's like, "What? Like, why is?" It says 4 people. We're like, "Oh, yeah, we've been trying you for the last 45 minutes, or 1 hour." And she's like, "All right, I'm sending my husband." And the husband comes about 15, 20 minutes later. He lets us out, and then he laughs it off. And then the next day, I left a really good review on Airbnb. I was like, "Yeah, they helped us out," and blah blah blah. And then obviously I couldn't read Spanish, and I thought she left a good review as well. Then I tried to put on Google Translate. She's like, "These guys woke me up in the middle of the night, and they got stuck in the lift, and blah blah
Yeah.
blah." There's like a proper negative review. So the point of that
So
was that was a situation of panic, and you need one person to calm down and know what to do, at least in a group, and not eat anyone.
yeah, I think that's where, yeah, man. I think one of the so Neil is doing the sorry, Ian said panic is sometimes a chemical thing in the body, but you can train to prevent it. And Ian, if you're still around, how do we train to prevent it? So Ian's into his Tai Chi, so he uses that kind of movement to
Mm,
change the energy that you have. And I think being aware of how you can actually affect your own state, like your own feeling, like how you respond, and just that awareness can be really powerful. And I think the first step um, is to some extent actually realize that you're panicking.
Mm.
And I think that's kind of self-awareness. That's kind of being able to, and the reason this is obstructed sometimes, I think, is due to like an excessive amount of self-judgment. So you're kind of in a state where you're not happy to kind of accept the truth of what's going on or accept reality. And when you're not happy to accept reality, then even if it's true about yourself, you're kind of like you're just trying to hide it rather than accepting it. And that's a part of self-acceptance. And if you can accept that okay, I'm panicking, I'm somebody who sometimes gets stressed out.
Mm.
Sometimes I find it hard to deal with certain situations. And if you can identify what those hard situations are, then I think at that point, any resource or any technique which you need or you need to learn, straight away you'll have access to it. You'll realize how many different simple ways there are for you to actually not be so panicked. And
I
you
think
can
if in,
you've also got access to the comments, Imad, so you can read
oh
all the
yeah,
comments
yeah, true,
which are
true.
coming in.
No, but I
Um,
can't see you if I read the comments.
oh,
Okay.
okay. But so Ian's saying that one of the ways is to keep exposing yourself to hard situations, and one thing which is hard for him is reciting. So reciting the Quran. And instead of like kind of saying, and this is one of the things which I'm quite big on, like when I'm holding, so I hold a Quran reciting session twice a week for anyone to come to, and in there everyone's encouraged to recite the Quran. I mean, obviously it's hard. Like a lot of people are
Mm.
like feeling like, oh, this is not mine. This is not something I can do publicly. But Ian's saying that when you expose yourself to that and put yourself in the difficult situation, then that actually in itself is a training to stop panicking. Because naturally, when you're in front of 10 other people and you have to recite, you're obviously going to feel a sense of panic. Whenever you have to speak, like before I have to start this podcast, there's a bit of panic, like, oh, is Imad going to bother turning up on time?
I
No,
always
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, I never have that panic. But the panic, like, oh, am I going to know what to say? Am I going to say the right thing?
the panic
Am I
is your
going to.
mic doesn't work because that's probably a bad omen. Because in the beginning you used to complain about my mic, and then for the past 3 weeks we have this 3 minute phase of your mic not working, sounding robotic for me anyway. It's important
Okay.
to differentiate between panic, generalized panic, which we're kind of describing loosely, and like a panic disorder, like generalized anxiety
Mm.
disorder and a panic attack, because that is sort of a medical condition. Now, be it inorganic, people do have like a tremor, the palpitations, they feel like a heartbeat, they feel like they're gonna a sense of doom, impending sense of doom, sweating and headaches, and they can't move, like they go stiff. That's a panic attack. That's different to what we're talking about. So I think we're talking about general when people when we're in an uneasy situation, perhaps.
Okay.
So like we're
So based on that, like, so would you not say, okay, I guess there can be extreme situations where you'd be diagnosed with it. And like, so what would that person then do? How would they kind of deal with their panic? Or do they just have to accept that they're always going to be in a state of panic? Like, what's the solution there?
I suppose you can have like perhaps lifestyle changes as well. It can for different people the stresses are different, so the causes are different. So you might be able to control the triggers. So say you have panic attacks if you don't sleep at night for more than 8 hours or you don't get a good night's sleep. So there you would focus on the sleep. You have panic attacks because you don't eat properly. So it can be a dietary cause, right? And your body just malfunctions. You have panic attacks if you're obviously some people do have panic attacks in a situation that perhaps they have to be in, like exams. You can't
Okay,
say, okay, you
but
don't
yeah,
take the exam.
but the point I'm saying, so like you've got people are in exams. Me, I have to do a podcast. Like people, everyone will have some
Mm.
kind of thing which will cause panic. So to some, like when I have to prepare a Friday talk and give a talk in front of like 80 people, or in the past like 300 people, then that in itself, just thinking of having to stand there can give some kind of panic. Now, so some people it might be exams, some people it might be a presentation at work, for some people it might be just meeting new people, meeting someone new, or having to go to a new kind of party with a new networking event. But there's a couple of things coming in which I want to.
So
So Ian said one of the ways he diverts panic. sorry, they deal with panic is by diverting the mind.
In Tai
Um,
Chi.
I think he's also a responder of some sort. So he's some, I think, like a first aider, or I'm not sure
Okay.
exactly, but he's kind of
Yeah.
he helps people. So
I
one of the
mean,
things that they do
I
is
mean,
take the
this
mind.
type of panic, I think it's the panic that kind of can result in a person needing to take medication. You know, they're having so much, like it's affecting you so much that you can't do anything. And I think
Okay,
for
so
people who are
what I'm
not
trying to what I'm
with this
trying to do is
condition,
I'm trying to take it from this extreme situation that somebody might be in. But what about then the average person? Like how is that very different? Because surely everyone there'd be some things which, and there's one thing which has come up, which Ian said is breathing, and then Shamoon, who's one of your friends, I think, has
yeah,
said
my guy,
he said
finally,
5, 5, 10, 10, 5. Okay, let me demonstrate. So 5 would be in for 5, hold for 5, 10, sorry, then breathe out for 10, and then hold for 5. Like personally, even while I was teaching the Quran, I've taken the whole Makharij system and realized that a lot of it has to do with breath. And simply by bringing that, so you might know, even when you're teaching, trying to teach Quran, a lot of people struggle, and the reason, not because they, not but because the throat is tense, and the easiest way to relax the throat is to actually breathe and bring that
mm.
awareness to the breath coming in, and then the recitation, as you know, saying, gets
Mm.
better.
So
Um,
articulation is in effect breath control.
mm, okay, so what does the breath do? I guess what the breath does is what Ian said in the first place: diverts the mind. So if you're worrying, and I guess this takes a sense of practice, because if you suddenly start doing this and if you never practice this, what will happen is you will start panicking about breathing. And this is a real problem. So then you panic about panicking, or you panic about not being able to control your panic. And then you panic about the fact that you're panicking about the fact that you're panicking. And once that goes to, and that can carry on. And sometimes when we get into the state of non-acceptance, not accepting the panic, there's actually all these barriers that you're panicking about, panicking about, panicking about, panicking. And if you can just accept that there is some panic there,
Mm.
that puts you in a much more, I think, like more, I don't know, man, more in control rather than
Mm.
in denial, I think.
I think with the medical condition of panicking, I think breathing is one of the things as well that's that's recommended. Being taking a breath, sitting down and developing an individualized coping mechanism. Different people have different coping mechanisms, but just to kind of steer away from that, how do you experience panic? You said you panic. How do you experience panic? What is panic to you? And is it different to my panic? Let's see. What's your panic?
Yeah, I've actually been through this quite recently, like in different ways. So I've got kind of, so that means I'm not, but again, I'm going to try and think about it without trying to get rid of those previous. So right now, if there was panic, now I'm panicking about how to answer the question, maybe. But because right now I'm not really, it's not very intense panic. I don't really care whether I answer your question right or not. Right now I'm in a state of relative authenticity. I'm pretty much speaking from my core. I think that's the way I kind of stop being panicked, because I'm just telling you the truth. But when I do feel it, I guess always for me the first place is like the head, maybe the front of the head kind of area. You could call it a headache, but I think it's just kind of tension or a tightening kind of thing.
Mm.
Bit of pain, maybe.
Pain. So you have a painful headache when
Yeah,
you
usually
panic.
on the right side of my brain. So the right side of my brain,
Okay.
it's all kind of releasing now because I'm noticing it. So it's kind of all dissipated. But then the second place, so if it was head first, the second place is usually the top of my belly. So just underneath kind of the chest area.
Mm.
I think the place where if you're breathing properly, the place will just come out when you're breathing.
Mm.
So that place, that tenses up, and I guess that causes breathing to like be a bit more panicky. So I guess the physical symptoms cause more panic.
Hmm.
in a sense,
I
possibly
think
then.
for me, panic, I think I would probably synonymize it with stress. So I get what I like to call acute stress. I like to have acute stress rather than chronic stress, which means I like to not be stressed for a long period of time, rather than be stressed for a little period of time. And always, I think when I panic have a stressful moment, is I think immediately before I deliver a talk. That's one time. I think before I sit exams, like, just I'm about to sit the exam, I feel loads of like panic, and when I panic, I feel like tightening. That's an interesting phrase you use, tightening. I do feel a bit of tightening, like around my throat and chest. I feel like, oh no, and then I feel a bit of tremble as well. And when I'm writing as well, I'll be sweating when I'm writing. Initially, and especially when I have
Yeah,
a deadline. And spoken about deadlines and how I manage deadlines. But when I have 2 hours left, I have to literally just think, oh no, it's fine, I can do it, and then type. Otherwise, my hands even get sweaty. Like I'm thinking about it now, and I'm trying to visualize myself in that situation. I'm feeling it a bit now, bit of that tremor. But once I start something, alhamdulillah, like in the first few seconds, it goes. So when I start delivering the speech, like when I do public speaking, like at Juma and places like that, then after a few seconds it goes. And likewise, like Ramadan is always one, because so throughout the year, I don't really read lead prayers except for Juma, and Ramadan is obviously a time where I'm expected to recite the entire Quran from memory. So obviously, you realize, oh no, there's loads of people who know the Quran by heart standing behind me, and if I make one mistake, they're just gonna catch my mistake. And always this happens to me. Like on the first day, I will, if I'm gonna make a mistake that year, it will happen like on the first few days, right? And then you have a plain sailing kind of thing, and you're like, oh, when you don't think about it. When I think those days, when I think, oh no, I'm gonna get Mr. Hard Juz, I'm gonna get a mistake today. Oh, do I know it properly? I did spend an hour or two, more than I spend an hour or two less than I usually do to practice the recital. Then I feel like kind of, oh no, panic, and that makes it even worse. But when you're like calm, like I'll tell you, the calmest time for Taraweeh has got to be in Al Madina Mosque, like this last year before the lockdown. Or maybe actually at home, obviously, it was really calm because it was just my parents and my little brother. We were doing the Quran together, and it was just at home. So, I mean, there it was no stress. And, I know the only person who knows like the Quran what I'm reciting is my little brother. And obviously, he was reciting most of it. And basically I was just so calm that you didn't make mistakes. That alhamdulillah I didn't make mistakes, because I was thinking about the actual recitation more than I was thinking about, oh, that stressful stress and
that's a
burden of
really deep
leading the
thing. So, as in terms of
congregation.
recitation, like one of the things which I'm trying to do with people that I teach Quran is like try and go from your A to your B. Like instead of what did you say? So instead of doing something, you're actually focusing on the recitation. Can you say that again?
So instead of the kind of stress of leading a congregation, so focusing your stress on leading the congregation, you focus your mind more on the actual meaning of the recitation, because it doesn't really matter. Or like then,
I
like
guess in
yeah,
other words, you could say you're bringing yourself into it more rather than worrying about something else. Like because the act of leading Taraweeh is you reciting the Quran. It's not your responsibility. Isn't like to take everyone like on some next Mi'raj. Your
yeah,
job is just to recite, I guess.
yeah.
Or,
No, the reciting, it comes with a lot of responsibility, in the sense that, say, oh, if you get stuck and if you panic, if you stop, that's it. The prayer, it can't continue without you, because obviously it can, but you always have this thing in your head. This is a common kind of worry now. I've not really shared this with anyone before, but I always think in the past like 10 years since I've finished the Quran in like 2010. It's been 10 years now. Every single year, alhamdulillah, Allah has given me the privilege to lead people in the prayer, in Salat al Taraweeh, and recite the Quran from memory. And it's like a MOT for our Quran, if you like. So, in the every time, this is one thought I sometimes have, right? And especially when like, initially, I used to lead in this really big mosque, and, I've led there for like 5 years. And the first year, second year, third year, I always used to have dreams that, oh, I'm just gonna forget what I'm reciting, and that's it. Like, it's just gonna stop because of me. That kind of anxiousness that you have. But alhamdulillah, that's never happened. And then now, obviously, now after the experience of reading it in various places, and I just think that was nothing to be stressed about, because even if
Yeah,
it did happen, so what?
yeah.
What's
I
the
think
worst that can happen?
so. One person gave me a definition of fear,
Yeah.
which is a made-up story about the future, which you, which hasn't happened yet. And I think every time we're scared. So in your what you've just said, you said you imagine
Hmm.
that you panic and you don't read it properly, and then suddenly everyone has to stop. And to some extent, if you wanted to kind of make it more dramatic, everyone starts throwing tomatoes at you, because essentially it's like it's the embarrassment, isn't it? It's not. It's
Hmm.
not really if you stop or anything, but everyone, like, oh, Iman's such a terrible man. But then, like, obviously, you can now tell. Now I've dramatized it a bit. You can tell it's never going to happen. No one's ever going to really care. They
Okay.
probably forget. But
Another thing
but
is another
one of
thing
the ways
is
to,
God.
one of the ways to get around it is if
Yeah.
you've made up a story like that,
Yeah.
you can just as easily make up another story. So the other story, for example, let's take your example. Obviously, I've applied this for my own examples, but seeing as you're on this, so the example would be, well, no, you read really beautifully. You read, and everyone goes into like spiritual ecstasy because of the way that you're reading. Everyone loves the way that you're reading. People come up to you afterwards and they're like, "Wow, mashallah, you read really good today." And like, imagine that happening, because both are made up stories, and you
Yeah.
can make up. But I think that's kind of an aspect of just taking the fear. So when you feel the fear, you can feel the fear. And this is sorry, Mushahid Yasir Topku just mentioned here that the most important thing
Mujahid.
is just Mujahid. Oh, Mujahid, sorry. That you have a panic, that you recognize the panic. Yeah. So you're saying that you recognize the panic, and once you've done that, okay, panic's here. Why? Oh, because people might throw tomatoes at me. And that will
Mm.
kind of just make you laugh. And then you can think, okay, well, what am I capable of? Like, I've done hifz of the Quran. I've spent this many years learning it. I've practiced it this many times. I've done it this many times before. Obviously, I'm going to read it beautifully this time as well. And that's why. And then the opposite story, which is also made up, another made up story, but instead of causing fear, it causes confidence.
Yeah, I think it's the fear of kind of embarrassment as well. But it's just literally when the first few years when I used to lead the Taraweeh, it used to be at my local mosque where everyone who I've grown up with prays behind me. My dad prays behind me. My granddad prays behind me. My uncle
Oh,
prays behind me. The guy from the local shop prays behind me. One of them, and it's
yeah,
like fair enough. Yeah, it's a great thing, but like especially at a young age, 15, 16-year-old, you don't. It was quite hard to deal with, and there's no one really to talk to, like your stress with, because the guy who you're leading with is like 35 years old. So he's from a different country as well. So it's you can't really. The only person you could have communicated it with is not really kind of on the same boat as you. And even they're sometimes relying on me. That's the even more pressure that no one knows. Like they're kind of relying on me for me to fill in their parts, and I know that, and no one else knows
yeah.
that. One of them.
But then I
And
have this thing here. Like I get the idea of completing the Quran in Ramadan.
yeah,
Um, but sometimes I'm keen. Like if we cut it down, make it a bit shorter, and then like people are able to actually connect to the Quran more than reciting the whole Quran.
yeah, I know the
Um,
people take it more about completing. I swear, in the couple of first few years I used to recite, and obviously I used to be really quite a timid person. I'm not anymore, but I was back then, and especially leading this big congregation that I know there's 500-600 people there, and everyone's gonna be scrutinizing my recitation, blah blah blah. So I thought, okay, fair enough, who cares? But then people actually did used to come up to me and praise me, alhamdulillah. And as a kid, that's it can help you, like yeah, you get loads of confidence and people give you gifts and blah blah blah, and that's really good. But at the same time, some guy used to come to me, and I remember this specifically. Guy comes to me and goes, I timed you today. You took 26 minutes to read 8 rakats, while your buddy over there took 23 minutes. 3 minutes. Wallahi, I'm not joking. Whenever I tell these people, they think it's a joke. But literally, this guy timed me, and he had a stopwatch
wow.
on his phone. And literally that day, I told like my dad, I told the imam, and they were like, "Tell us who the guy is. We'll sort him out." And I'm like, "Nah, leave it, because there's no point.
Yeah.
But it became like a game. And the funny thing is, he doesn't know that I was reciting more than the other guy. I was helping him. right? Hey, so Dajjal specifically. Okay, calm down. Saeed is an expert in English language, mashallah. Recently married as well in his honeymoon period.
Mashallah.
Allah yubarik fi. Allah yubarik fi.
When does the honeymoon period end? Is
That's
there a
it.
limit to
That's
that?
it. That's it. Saeed is someone who I lived with for a year actually. So we used to
Oh,
talk
mashallah.
loads about him actually, what's the plan in the future and stuff like that, mashallah. So he'll be an interesting person to talk to regarding this honeymoon period and what definition of honeymoon period. But that's for a future session, inshallah. Not for
Inshallah.
a panic session like this.
Okay, so
Money
the
ain't gonna
panic thing.
panic.
Okay, just coming on to the panic. I forgot what I was going to say, man.
Saeed Afzal.
Um, Saeed Dajjal. Okay, Sahil is here. He's telling us
Saeed
that we have a system.
Jalal. Saeed Afzal
But,
Jalal.
but I think one of the things, like especially with public speaking,
Yeah.
so you tend to kind of, because the idea is not really, there's a difference between Quran and public speaking. Because with the Quran, I would say to some extent, if you've learned it by heart, which I haven't, it's kind of a little bit easier because you're not adding anything in. You're just reciting based on the correct way it was recited to Allah. But when it's public speaking, you're sharing your own kind of perspective, your own ideas. And I think this is where it gets kind of, if you're going to panic, and this is what I said about if you're speaking authentically, if you're actually speaking the truth, meaning not are you telling a lie or a truth, but are you speaking your truth? Is what you're saying what you live? And if that's true, I've noticed it's so much easier to then speak about it because you're not like trying to hide. You're not, and sometimes I find with a lot of imams, I'm not trying to be all psychic or anything, but I can just kind of see it when it doesn't always match up. Like if they're speaking about something but they don't really believe it, because obviously we're taught to speak and like find things and speak about a topic rather than actually understand something, act upon something, bring something into your life, and then explain how that thing, explain a bit deeper about that thing. So when there's not that extra, when you add that level of authenticity, it means you can't really go wrong because you're just in the spirit of service. Does that make sense?
I would have to disagree with you, unfortunately. I would say I can't always agree with you, otherwise it wouldn't be much fun. I would have to disagree with you in the sense that I think people who recite the Quran, and you said that it would be easier because if you memorize it, you only have to kind of churn out what you memorized. However, there is an aim for perfection there, an aim for absolute perfection, meaning like obviously reciting the Quran, when you memorize it, you memorized it. But human beings are prone to mistakes, and if you make this is one thing, right? A single mistake. If you make one mistake in a whole juz, you know the juz inside out. That's really good. The mistake might have just been you stuttering. However, if you recited a whole juz in Taraweeh and you made a single mistake, it can demoralize you. It can demoralize you because you knew that just you recited it 7 times to like this guy and this guy and that guy, and they've said you've got no mistakes there. But then when you're on the kind of musalla and you're reciting Salat Taraweeh, and you just it just goes out your mind because that's human. Otherwise, you would be an
But then
angel.
why does having a mistake cause so much demoralization
It does
or,
because
or
it depends
trigger?
on it depends on the context. It depends on the context. Like I said, I don't feel that anymore. Like the context which I recite the Quran in now, like the last year it was lockdown in Ramadan, and I recite the entire Quran at home, alhamdulillah, with my little brother. So we went halves and halves. So that was, I think I got barely any mistakes there because it was kind of a relaxed situation. I was thinking more about the meaning of the Quran, and we could just stop. Say if we weren't sure about a verse coming up in a few rakah, we could just
Okay,
stop
so
and we could just
the
chill
question I've got: why couldn't you do that in the masjid?
because there were 600 people there, and
So
because
they won't
people have
mind. Which one of them would mind?
that guy who came
Ah,
up to me with his
okay,
stopwatch.
apart from him. But then, okay, so surely the
The
question is not.
audacity, though. The
No.
audacity, though,
But again,
of
okay,
him coming up.
but let's go back to the stories. Let's go back to the
Yeah,
stories. You're always going to have both stories based on reality. How
yeah.
many of those 600 people would be like cheering for Imad? Yes, Imad's got a mistake. He's just stopped for a minute to check his mistake. Yes, Imad's going to be back. Yes, Imad's about to start again. Yay! And how many of them would be like, oh my god, It's now 27 minutes. Like, so,
I've
but
got work in the morning. He has to finish by 12:30,
but
otherwise
it
I'm not
does
going to get
depend.
to
It
bed.
does depend on the story, though, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, at that time, leadership, because I'm a child at that point. Another factor is that time I was 15, 16 years old. That's another factor. I'm inexperienced. And that's the reason why it's demoralizing. Maybe if I was 21 at that time, it wouldn't be as demoralizing, because I would have just stood up and be like, I'm my bad. You don't have to pray if you think you're on a time trial. Go, your sleep is better for you. I would have told them to go home, like I have done afterwards. Since I've graduated from Alimiya and stuff like that, I've been maybe firm, but fair with people. Like I've been like, okay, if you don't want to pray, fair enough. I would stand up in the masjid and say that, right? Because not because I'm sort of all sanctimonious and a holy kind of character, and everyone else is wrong. Because I would just think you need to be, when you're a leader, you need to step up. And I think obviously I'm not kind of degrading anyone else, but perhaps if someone else who is an imam there, if they sort of stood up and mentioned to that guy, because alhamdulillah, the imam did tell me, I'll sort the guy out. But I was like, no, leave it. But if the next day the imam had hypothetically just stood up and said, if anyone's got any problems, then you can say it in front of everyone. Right, and let's see who speaks now. Let's see who's got the audacity. And it had nothing to do with the recitation or anything, because every day 10, 15 people will come and pat me on the back and blah blah blah. And that's whatever, fair enough. But
So
the
are you
one
saying
guy
that
can demoralize
that
you.
one guy, but the one guy seems to have taken a much bigger space? Okay, so I guess this is 15 years ago. But
It wasn't
then,
15 years ago. It
okay,
was about 10,
sorry,
7 years ago.
about 7 years ago.
7 years
Hmm.
ago.
But then I think nature naturally, I guess it does have a lot to do with the way that we grow up as well, like how we're taught to deal with mistakes and failures. But I think naturally, and this is one of the big things which I work on as well, which is even when it comes to reciting the Quran, obviously that's what I spend most of my time doing, helping people recite the Quran. But the biggest obstacle is like the fear of mistakes, and even beyond my own students. So my students already made it to the classroom in front of me, happy
Yeah.
to expose their mistakes. I think the reason people don't make it to the classroom or don't make it even to an online course to learn the Quran is because it exposes them and opens them up to the mistakes, which they're so scared of that instead of just being, and again, like your friend Shamum said, he said that in reality, if you can just become aware of it, then that can, and maybe 5, 7 years ago that wasn't possible for you, but I think that's definitely applicable to a lot of people in different subjects.
Yeah.
You know,
So
can.
going back to the question, you said you said that public speaking was harder than reciting the Quran. I would disagree. I would say with the Quran, it's a name for perfection. With public speaking, you can rephrase, paraphrase, and I would argue, if you're a good speaker and if you've spoken for like 100, 200, 300 hours in public, which many imams have done, right, then it's easy to create a topic. Like even now, like Juma, right, when I lead Juma, right, even for the last few weeks, the time I get the idea of what the khutbah should be would probably be that morning or the previous evening. Whereas previously, when I used to prepare for a talk, I used to probably prepare a week. And I used to be like, oh, check this, check that. But, when you're talking about general things, you can kind of mix and match ideas, and you can speak coherently for 25, 30 minutes, right? And it doesn't really take much effort after you've spoken for such a long time. However, with the Quran, I think, is that perfection. And when you're public speaking, it's not about you. What's a mistake in public speaking? Stuttering. You wouldn't really be public speaking if you were stuttering, or the content of what you say.
I wouldn't
It
say
can be,
stuttering.
it can be
I would say the
improved.
effect on the people. How much are you connecting to the people? Like, do
How do
you
you
come
measure
up
that?
and
How do you measure that?
it's not easy. How do you measure the Quran one? It's not easy to
Mistakes,
measure.
quantity of mistakes. That can
But
be
how,
a measure.
nah. No, but why would that be a measure? Why instead of mistakes? Why don't we talk about flow? Why don't we talk about rhythm? Why don't we talk about volume? We don't talk about the tempo. You can talk about anything. So then you could have mistakes which you don't know. The same in public speaking. Like you could be public speaking and then you could say a verse of the Quran wrong. You could be quoting a verse of the Quran and then Arabs in the audience or people who are very strict on the Quran, they'll correct you in front of everyone. And they'll be like, wow, you said this verse, or if you translate it wrong. Mistakes can definitely occur in public speaking. And if you're like serious about public speaking, you're definitely aiming for more perfection. Perfection, obviously, just like in Quran, what perfect Quran is would be kind of thing. But I think even in public speaking, you'd have that subjectivity, but it could be like the connection. I would say personally for me, it's the connection you have with the audience. Are you, while you're on stage, aware of how you're affecting the audience, and are you able to respond to the effect you have on the audience based on the way the audience are reacting to you, or are you
Mm.
just vomiting, basically?
It's,
That would
it's,
be
yeah. It's funny what you said about public speaking and having mistaken the verse of the Quran. Actually, I think it was a hadith which I misquoted, and a brother told me afterwards. You know, one of the brothers in Arabic. I said, "Why didn't you just tell me when I was there? I was in front of you. You should just give me one look, man. What's the point now?"
mm,
You know, but perhaps maybe if I was like a more novice speaker or a person who hadn't spoken for like many hours, then maybe I would have been like, "Oh, thank you for mentioning it at that point." But you know, it's with experience. I think with experience and
yeah,
time,
but I
I
don't
think
think.
it helps things.
A little bit. I can say obviously experience will make you better, but I think if you're not actually, again, if you're not aware of any weaknesses, and it depends how advanced. Like
Mm.
you can learn about public speaking in different ways, but if you're not even like if you speak with kind of if you automatically panic and then you start speaking like this and then your talk is like this, the whole talk is like this, and you're thinking this much and. Or you're sending stress signals, and you're not just stressed yourself, but you're actually stressing. I'm stressing you out now because I
Yeah,
seem stressed. But if you're doing that, then you could. I think somebody can speak at that level for 40 years, and they could develop 40 years of experience and still speak like that.
yeah. Obviously, you need critique. That's important. You need critique from people who
Uh,
know. You need positive,
rapid
constructive feedback.
rapid prototyping. But you have to
Yeah,
be a rapid prototyper. You have to be somebody who actually is, taking that feedback. And this is what I mean by rapid prototype. If you're on stage and by the audience's nodding, you can tell what direction you're going in, or how many of them are awake, or by them maybe being asleep tells you how much you need to kind of wake someone up.
yeah.
That in itself, that's what I call rapid feedback. So you're not then you don't rely on someone else afterwards to come and say, "Well done, nice speech." You know while you were there, like how many people could be bothered to
Mm.
listen.
I think that can hurt because sometimes, if you have loads of people telling you nice speech, right? And then the next week they don't tell you, then that can it's an ego thing as well for an individual. I mean, that's why my kind of thing is if you can get out straight away, if you're a public speaker or like an imam or delivering a talk or something, if you can get out straight away, get out straight away before people have anything to say. And then obviously the people who take positive feedback from them. I tell you one of the best kind of books that for good Islamic talks that we have that I've benefited from.
Who's that by?
The Everything Guide to Comedy Writing. It's by a chap called Mike Bent.
Oh, okay.
So this is a good guide to Islamic talks. So anyone who wants Islamic
Why,
talks,
why,
they can.
why a guide to Islamic talks though?
Because in general, being comic or like it can help you break the ice and stuff. And you always need some sort of humor when it comes to public speaking. So all these obviously you're not gonna go a guy walks into the bar, you'd be like, oh, a guy walks into the masjid.
Mm.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
You have to
definitely. But then, okay, but that's
adapt
deep,
it.
man. Like, how many people
Yeah.
would admit that they can? Okay, so let's imagine, yeah. So I do a bit of coaching here and there, yeah. So some
Yeah.
imams, I call them up and give them some free coaching. I wind them up, basically. But basically, I'll kind of find something. But it would be very rare that somebody that I speak to anyway, maybe like, in the future, more people will be open to this idea. But it's very rare that I'll find somebody who'll even accept that they can learn how to have more comedy in their talks. That would be the problem. Just like some people would not even accept that I can have more of a connection with my audience. I can speak more authentically. I can speak more truthfully. I can speak better. I can be a better public speaker. The way I did this
Mm.
week. And sometimes, like, you might say, well, if you always think that you didn't do very good, but that you done amazing. Well done, mashallah. But there's some things which can always be improved.
Mm. I
Um,
think a good gauge, we were saying measuring the effect on the audience. I think maybe I think it was in this book or maybe in another book. It said a good measure of it was a comedy writing book. A good way to measure and gauge how much of the audience you have captured is how much of them you've made them laugh in the first few minutes of your talk. If you have made the audience laugh. You've broken the ice, and they're open to what you're going to say now, right? So it's just have you held the room,
So can
and
you
that's
share
holding the
something?
room.
Can you share like some good ideas from that
Ah,
book?
no, it's my course that you have to buy for $10.99. I'm gonna make a YouTube ad about it. So you see me on YouTube, me traveling the world with my wife Coco.
Imad, man.
So that's how
No.
you hold the room. It's context. Humor is context. So obviously that was an inside joke, but you know, context is humor. Basic humor is context. But
Yeah.
okay, so for people who didn't get the joke, that on YouTube, if you watch loads of Islamic things, or I don't even watch Islamic things on YouTube to be honest, but sometimes like on YouTube, people who go on my phone watch Islamic things. So basically, there's this guy who always comes on the YouTube ads, and his name I forgot his name, but he's a young guy.
Uthman.
Uthman. He travels the world with his wife Coco, and he's just gonna tell you because all the basically Muslims don't really like other Muslims to succeed, but he wants Muslims to succeed. That's why he's gonna tell you for a special price of $5.99, and his course is starting in 10 minutes, right? And he's gonna tell you the secrets to sort of build your own business and travel the world
Imad, you sound
like
like you
him
have a
and his
lot of
wife
resentment
Coco.
for Uthman. Poor old Uthman is, you've said it in such a horrible way about the poor guy. Let me rephrase it. Uthman is he's a
Okay,
businessman
before
who's
before you
who
start,
makes uh,
before you start, I just want to say, all I said was I want to go and travel the world with my wife Coco. I didn't mention anything about Othman, but you brought Othman into it.
no, you
I'm
started
joking.
saying, oh, I need to
I know, I know, I know. I know. Okay,
explain
go on,
my thing.
explain it.
Nah, man. There's not much to explain, man. But you seem to have increased in
Okay,
your.
well, okay. Who is he? Who is he? What does he do? What's his mission
To
statement?
be honest,
If I
I
was
don't
going to say it
actually.
wrong.
I, wrong. But right and wrong. I mean, I'm not trying to say you're wrong here. What I'm saying is the way that you explained it was as if Uthman is kind of doing something naughty
Okay, I
and wrong.
stopped you mid conversation, so just go on the tangent you were going to go on with Othman. Who he
Uh,
is? Who is
I
he?
don't really know. I've not checked him out.
Okay,
But
so what do you know about him?
but
That's
I don't
different
think
to
you've
me.
checked. I don't think you checked him out enough to decide that he's kind of a bit of a delinquent who's, who's kind of trying to rip people off with
Okay,
something
you
which is
tell
not
me
true.
who is he? What does he do? Go on from your mouth.
Okay,
Explain it in a gentle way.
so I would say from I've seen the advert here. So I would say he's kind of just a person who's trying to help Muslims get an extra income online.
Okay, why? What's his motive?
Because he wants to help Muslims. Like he doesn't like it that Muslims are poor. He wants Muslims to be
Okay,
in a stronger financial situation. He doesn't like it when he sees like all Muslims on benefits and all like not having enough money and complaining and being all depressed. He wants Muslims to be at the top of the economy, leading
okay.
the
So
economy,
why not put your video on YouTube for free without any ads?
because he won't be able to then have your email so that he can send you his next products or whatever
Oh,
else he offers.
but then is he going to charge for those next products?
Yeah, probably, because obviously knowledge is free.
Then, yeah, I know, but then you're prying on vulnerable Muslims who clearly don't know how to manage their money, right? That's why
Why?
they're coming to you, because otherwise, why would they come to you? And
Because
if you're saying,
he knows how to get you your own business.
well, it's like 20, right? First of all.
Okay, so how does
Second
that
of
make
all,
a difference?
okay,
No.
okay, all right,
You
all
can't say
right.
that first of all, and it's a completely redundant argument.
Okay, sorry, take that back, There are 20-year-olds, like I think Sahil, who's got his own business, right? He's like 12. How old is Sahil? Sorry, how old
Okay,
is Sahil?
then I'm not sure. I think he's into his A levels now, first year. But the point is,
Okay,
okay, it might be a pyramid scheme, but the point is, no, it's not a pyramid scheme. So he's teaching how to build a business. Now, I don't really know him. I've never watched his course. I find him a bit boring, to be honest, and I don't like his delivery style nor his communication style. So I wouldn't choose him as a teacher. But he says that I can teach. That's all he's saying. I can teach. You want teacher, you come me. That's all he's really saying. If somebody wants him as a teacher, why? How can we? Why shouldn't we have teachers advertising their services?
okay. Shumon says it's like a pyramid scheme. Sounds like a pyramid scheme.
Sounds like a pyramid
Sahil's
scheme. So Shamon, I apologize, but you are wrong. No, you're not wrong. But if it sounds like a pyramid scheme, this one definitely isn't. So this is him selling his own course. A pyramid
How
scheme
do
would
you
be.
know? But you said you haven't checked it out enough, so it could
But
be.
I've watched the advert, and he then leads to a webinar, which is him talking. So he's selling content. He's selling education.
Okay,
So
did you
he's saying,
watch
I
the
can.
webinar?
No, I didn't watch
Why
the
does the
webinar.
webinar start 5 minutes after the person watches a
Okay,
particular
so that's
video at
okay.
3 a.m. on YouTube? That
Okay,
is that is
so,
fake.
so I'm not saying it's
Not
real,
live.
but obviously he's set up a business. Well, why is he
Okay.
not allowed to set up his business in his way? What's wrong about the way he's doing business?
Basically, he's trying to make people panic that they haven't got enough money. So it all comes down to this panic concept. So, oh, hey, dude, you don't have enough money. So here's
But
a way where you can travel the world with
no,
your
no,
wife
no, no.
Coco.
That's his advertising. Like that's the same with Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola, they link happiness to drinking Coke, and they
Well, here's
spend billions on this, on happiness. They'll give you this all Coke, Coke, Coke. All these people being happy. They'll get you happy. They'll advertising make you into a state of happiness. Coca-Cola, as if Coke gives you happiness. They
okay.
manipulate emotions even more. So you're saying
He's
his
okay.
advertising is obviously aimed at manipulating emotions. That's how advertising works.
So he is definitely trying to manipulate emotions. He says he travels the wife like travels the world with his wife Coco. Why did he mention wife? Trying to say, look, I'm already married and I've got enough money to support me and my wife to travel around the world.
That's why. So you can trust him. Obviously, he wants you to trust him, doesn't he?
Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah. Can you hear me now? Where did you go?
Oh no, it's that thing again. We have to wait for a couple of minutes. But let me explain. Because I got a call. Unfortunately, I'm on my phone. It's a better camera and stuff. That's why I'm on my phone. But a sheikh did call me and I had to decline his call. The respectable sheikh. But anyway, I was just saying that basically this dude. I'm not saying he's a bad dude, but I just don't like the way kind of he. Okay, YouTube ads. I get it. That's a way to kind of target people that you'd want to target, and you pay a lot of money for that, and it's your right to use that because if he didn't use that space to deliver his message or that advertisement to deliver his message, then other people who kind of might have like inferior or ulterior motives might put their kind of advertise there to make you buy, for example, Coca-Cola, right? Because you said like a good demographic for Coca-Cola kind of buyers would be kind of Asian, Muslim, people who have already at risk of cardiovascular disease, people who love the consumption of sugar, right? So perhaps, yeah, he's probably أخف الضررين, the lesser evil. I
But
accept that.
why is it evil?
Why?
Why is it evil to
Okay,
teach Muslims how to make a second business?
I don't want to dismantle this guy. I'm not. It's not a character assassination of this dude Uthman, right? Maybe I'd get along with him. He looks like a guy I'd get along with, right? But I'm not. Okay, evil was a wrong term. Evil was a wrong term of me, and I retract that. He's not an evil
Allah,
person. He's not an evil person. Look, public apology. You see this? This is public apology.
Allah.
So, brother Uthman, if you're watching this in the
I don't think
future,
he's watching.
in the future,
Oh,
if
he
that
might do. He
maybe
might do.
he might
Inshallah.
watch
Okay.
this if he
You
hears
can
his
send
name.
it to him.
Okay.
His analysis.
Well, I'll probably get like death threats from his legal team. Not
No,
death
man.
threat, like legal challenges from his legal team. They'd be like, "Oh, why you defamation and
Nah, but I'm here.
libel and
I'm here to hold you accountable. Don't worry. Nobody's believed your lies about his evil
okay,
about his evilness.
okay." I didn't say he's evil. I just said like I just don't like the way that people are targeting what I see as a potential vulnerable YouTube watcher. So they will be vulnerable, saying, why should I trust him?" First of all, when a person gives you an advert, they try to develop a connection and trust, and they manipulate your emotions. He's trying to tell this young Muslim man who perhaps has only £200 at the moment, give me your £200, I'll teach you how to make £400. Right? This is my idea of it, and I think that this is not right.
Why not? Why should he not? If he's developed a method to help people make money, why shouldn't people pay for that method?
Because I don't think the method is viable. Because Okay, this is another thing as well. Like
Is
I
it
know
not
lots
possible to teach
because I know
somebody to make
loads.
money?
It is possible to teach people to make money, but why don't these people go to university? And why wouldn't the people? The thing is, if you money making money isn't easy.
Sorry,
Everyone knows
what?
it's not easy.
University? How would university help you make money? That's if you believe with your belief system that degrees help you make more money, or going to
Okay,
university helps you make
okay.
more money.
Let me tell you what's in
What
my head.
if somebody else would believe that learning from Brother Uthman will help you make more money?
Okay, let me
And
tell you why
why
I'm
do you
mentioning
believe?
it.
Why do you
Okay,
believe that it's hard to make money?
okay. I'll be explicit now. I'm not going to cover it with any bit loose terms. Okay.
Okay.
In the past, right, people have lost loads of money. People who are vulnerable Muslims have lost of money. I've seen it. People have invested money in things like these kind of forex trading traders who on Instagram they will post, oh yeah, we've got this sick car, we've got this really nice lifestyle. Give me your little money, that your hard-earned money that you have, and I'll invest it for you in something. And this is how you make money. I'll give you signals. Oh, there's this event that happens, and pay me £100 to attend this event, and I'll just give you a life coach. But you can get the exact same information from like self-help books that we spoke about, from Quran and Sunnah, from your local imam. Like if they come to Colchester Mosque, I'm sure you'd be able to give them advice and counsel on what the same thing that they would be paying thousands of pounds for. This is what gets me angry. It gets me angry that that these kind of people who
But
prey
why have you put
on making
Uthman
their
into
money.
this? But why have you put Uthman into this? This is the question. We can say that there definitely exists like lots of life coaches who sell things for lots of money. Which someone tried to sell me a course. They tried to charge me
Yeah.
£7,500 a year for a 12-month kind of course. I don't know. He was trying to teach me Islamic psychology. But people do have that, and they think they've got this like secret information. But what makes you think that Uthman has that kind of a scheme?
Okay, I'm not saying it's definitely, but it seems to me like he is one of them because of his the way he is marketing the course. He's deploying similar strategies. So why shouldn't I come to the conclusion that he is perhaps one of those individuals?
Because you haven't checked. I mean, you have
I've
to check with
I've
Uthman before
watched
we
his
start talking
videos.
about Uthman.
Okay, I'm
We have
not
to. You have
okay.
to have watched the webinar and seen what does he even offer next. What does he actually offer? What is his product? If you
I
don't even
tried
know
to
what his product is,
Yeah, but then okay, fair enough. I shouldn't
and
pass
how
judgment
much
on
is his
someone
product,
without.
and how much is he charging? So he's
Okay,
giving
so
a free webinar which you can
yeah,
watch, and that will teach you something.
yeah,
Based on what you learn from there, you then have a choice. Do you trust him? Do you think he can teach you? Do you want to take his next product or not? And
yeah. But
it's
then
not
he
like
has access to your email address. He can continuously spam you. And
you can
now with
unsubscribe.
yeah, no, but with modern like advertising techniques and technology, your information is valuable, right? A person's information is
So
valuable.
so
You
don't
don't
so
know
don't click
what
on
if
the,
he
so
can
skip
sell
the
it to
ad.
Google. Yeah, but
So
he can
skip.
sell it to Google,
So you
Facebook,
shouldn't
and
have
they
given it
can.
to him. You shouldn't have given him your email then. If you're that
Yeah,
scared of your email being shared.
I know, but vulnerable people might not understand that.
What, so why would they be on YouTube? We should ban YouTube. YouTube's the haram thing here, not this
No,
Uthman. Because
the advertisement is
you're talking about every advert. That
not
is how
every advert.
advertising works. That's how business
Okay,
works. You lead people through a funnel towards your product. The
but
first thing might be an advert.
what I find sinister is he's trying to gain your trust on the fact that he's a Muslim, and I don't agree with that. Trust me,
So
give
you
me
don't,
your money
so
because I'm a
don't
Muslim.
trust him. I'm not
Yeah,
asking you to
exactly,
trust him, but
exactly.
you're
So
saying you've kind of said. I know you've retracted this, calling him evil, but you've kind of said the system of advertising to people to get them towards your product is somehow evil.
advertising
I
is
think,
fine. Advertising is fine.
yeah,
Advertising
I
the
think
fact that
this
you're
comes down. This
Muslim
actually
is
comes
not.
down. This actually comes down. Now, Abdul Sattar is asking. The thing is, if making money is that easy, why would people share it? They'd continue to make a large amount of money themselves. No, and I think this is where the problem comes. We believe making money is hard. We believe life is hard at some cellular level, deep level, and then we think that nobody wants to share the goodness in the world. The point you said about Uthman saying that when other people are successful, we don't share it, we get scared. Why is he successful? How dare he become successful? Why has he got enough money to advertise on YouTube? Why is he now being able to travel the world with his wife? How dare he? I want to do that. And we get jealous.
No. No, I'm not
And
saying
that's
that out of
what very
jealousy.
often
Honestly,
happens.
okay.
And
My
in
problem with him isn't.
reality,
Okay, go on. You finish, and then I'll tell you what my problem is. My problem
no,
isn't
but
that,
then,
and you've
but
misunderstood
I
me.
say,
You misunderstood me.
the problem actually comes with this belief. Like, are there human beings in the world who want to help other human beings? Or is it money that motivates everyone? With this comment here, I think there's a belief that money is the only important thing worth doing anything for. What if Uthman, he believes that his purpose in life is to help make other Muslims' lives better? Why is it so hard for us to believe that another human being exists for that reason? And
Okay,
personally, I find this belief really common, more so in Muslims. And this kind of belief lies beneath a conspiracy theory kind of belief that the world is controlled by like three people who hate everyone and they want to control all the money. But I think if we actually think of reality, how much money you have control over, like how much of a choice you have. And again, Uthman trying to run his business. Why are we so scared of his business? Why are we so against somebody trying their best to help other people? Unless we have some evidence that this person is not trying their best to help other people. Because so far, if you go on his website, watch his webinar, go through, he's trying to help you make money. And until if so far we haven't even watched his webinar, how can we make such a judgment that this person is trying to
okay,
not help people?
okay. But all right, fair enough. I think you misunderstood me here. I'm not talking this individual, Uthman. I didn't even know his name until you told me his name. All I knew was his wife, Coco, which keeps on mentioning every video. That's why he didn't. I don't think he mentioned his own name. But yeah, I'm not targeting him individually. He is a bad man. He gets to travel the world. Well done. Alhamdulillah. I want that for much more, many more people. I want ease for the Muslims. This is ad-dinu an-nasihatu, the first hadith we mentioned today. The deen, the religion, this is Sahih Bukhari, that the religion is to desire good for
We've got about
everyone
2 minutes. We've
else.
got about 2-3 minutes left here.
The deen is to desire good for everyone else. So this is authentic hadith, and this is a principle that we should live by. It's part of our creed. We need to desire good for other people, right? Jealousy we should take out of our hearts. What my opinion is people who try to sell products to vulnerable Muslims who may have a little bit of money and tell them, you give your little bit of money to me and I will teach you how
But
to make loads of
where
money.
did that come from? Little bit of money. What
This is
little bit of
how
money?
this is okay. This is not my experience from this individual. It's my experience from things that pyramid schemes in the past, because I've seen
Okay,
people
but
conned by
we're
pyramid
not talking
schemes.
about pyramid scheme. Uthman, like what? Who told you Uthman is a
Okay,
pyramid scheme?
second, okay, I'm not targeting this individual. I'm saying people who sort of
But
portray in this way.
we've put him into this group.
As an example, okay, as an
But why
example,
is he one of those examples though? He's selling his product, just like Coke are selling their product and Tesco are selling their product. He's selling
okay,
his product. Just
I
like
understand.
Samsung and iPhone make their adverts. Why is his like
Okay,
so bad?
I'm saying the reason why I think he's bad, and this is my opinion, all right,
Hmm.
is because what I understood from it, maybe I understood wrong and my interpretation is wrong. Fair enough, whatever. What I took away from it is when I keep on watching his ads over and over again, I take away the fact that this guy, he's trying to take a vulnerable, this is the idea in my head. I'm just explaining to you.
But how did this
Vulnerable
end up in your head?
must,
Why did
because
you
of
not
my,
think? Why did you? Okay, why did you not think?
let me explain it
Alhamdulillah.
first. Let me
But
explain it first. Let me explain it
why didn't you
first.
think of this story? Why didn't you think, Alhamdulillah, another amazing Muslim who's made a business and is trying to help other Muslims? Why did we think the opposite?
Because of my negative experience of how practical the world is. I have to be practical. Husnul dhan is one thing. Having a good opinion of someone is one thing, and being practical and kind of not kind of being a. There's a statement of Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu. A statement of Umar. He said, I cannot remember the Arabic, but he said that we are people who are not easily fooled. Right? We are not easily fooled, and we shouldn't be taken for like a fool. And through our experience of people who advertise on YouTube and stuff like that, on these platforms, Forex, for example, and Instagram and these sort of social medias, where YouTube is selling you, the consumer, as a particular demographic that they've typed in and they've said, I want an 18 to
I can't hear you, man.
called. Sorry about that. It was the same Imam who called.
Hmm. Okay, anyway, I can't hear you at the moment, man. Um, Okay, I'm just going to answer one of these questions while your audio reconnects. Abdul Sattar is saying, if you truly believe in it and it's that easy to make money, what stopped you from doing it? Because I don't need extra money at the moment. Alhamdulillah, I have more than enough money. And like the purpose of my life is not to get lots and lots of money. Um, and I don't think, I mean, I really don't think that's something which is that very important. I think that's one of the beliefs that I'm talking about, that sometimes we believe that the only thing which is important is to make money, or every human somehow has this just obsession with money. And I think we have a very strange relationship with money, and that's why we've spoken about money before. Imad, can I hear you? No, at the moment, no. Can you? Okay, you can hear me. That means everyone should be able to hear. But let me know when I can hear you, because Abdul Sattar just said that he can't hear you either. Yeah, man, you're added, man. You're in. But just here with Abdul Sattar's question. Oh, it's gone. If it's that easy, like I don't think that's the purpose of my life. And just to always be running after money. Just because something makes money doesn't mean I do it. I do what I think I should be doing with my life, which is helping other people. Like my mission is to help people connect with Allah. So I will do whatever it takes to help as many people as possible connect with Allah. I'm not that bothered about how much money I make. Just like Uthman, for example, his mission is to help people. Uthman,
Can you hear
his
me?
mission is to help people
Can you hear me?
get. Yeah, I can hear you now. So
Okay.
Uthman's mission is to help people become better at making money, become more economically stable. So that's his mission, which he's trying to go through. So in terms of this question, what's stopping me from doing it? There's no reason why I would be interested in that. But some people are interested in that. If you're interested in making more money, maybe you should check it out. But it's an advertisement, so if you're interested, check it out. No problem whatsoever. But if it sounds too good, it probably is. Yeah, you can believe that if you want, but there are ways to become better at making money. It's not like it's some kind of secret thing which only like 3 people know in the world. I'm not sure if Imad's going to come back. I can't see him. Oh, he's here. He's here. Assalamu alaikum,
Hello.
Imad. You're back. Alhamdulillah.
Wa alaikum salam. I know we've been speaking for over our time, but I just want to clarify the last thing about the Coco guy. I keep on mentioning by Coco. I know it was a hard topic which we disagree on. Cause we obviously apparently disagree
No, but
on
it's
this
the
guy,
assumption.
right? Or in general, these sort of
Why?
individuals.
But why are you making that assumption that he's targeting vulnerable? Why is it not? So imagine there's 2 stories. One, you don't know. Let's be straight up. You've not checked it out, so you don't even know his product. I asked you what's his product. You don't even know what his product is. So if there's 2 options, one is he's just trying his best to help as many Muslims as possible, or he's targeting vulnerable Muslims and trying to harm everyone. Why are we choosing negative? Why are we making negative assumptions? Do we have that
Because
permission?
why should that's the one important thing. First of all, as Muslims, we should desire good for everyone. We should have positive kind of opinions towards people. I understand that. I completely understand that. I
But
agree
here's
with
the
that.
thing: how much
Right.
do we know
And
about this one person? We have to be more knowledgeable to make a decision.
and perhaps, yeah, I need to do research on this particular individual, but I don't like the way he's selling it. As in, oh, I'm Muslim, so therefore, I want you to buy my product because you're a Muslim. To me, what it sounds like is, this is my thought process, that this individual, okay, this, I shouldn't single him out as an individual, but these individuals, they go to YouTube and they be like, I want this target demographic, which is usually, an 18 to
He
20 year
wants
old.
customers. He wants
Okay, an
customers
18 to
for his
20 year
business.
old
He wants people to
Muslim
buy his
who is,
product.
because generally these age Muslims are kind of vulnerable, they're deprived, right?
Oh,
That's
okay.
that's
So
the
we're
that's the
not
way I
allowed to
view it.
sell them products. We're not allowed to
Well,
advertise to them.
I think it's unethical. It's not about kind of allowed and not allowed. I think you have to rethink the ethics of it. I wouldn't personally. I wouldn't be like, because I'm Muslim, buy my product. I don't think that's a good way to
But
advertise it. Right?
that's not what he's
By
saying. He's
my,
not saying
by
because,
my,
but he's not saying that.
why mention it then? Why
There's
mention it?
so many
Oh, I'm a Muslim. I want Muslims. He mentioned the word Muslim. He did mention the word Muslim,
because he's
and
yes, but that's not.
because
He's not saying because I'm a Muslim buy my product. He's
he's
never
not
said that.
he's not
But
said it literally,
he's
but that's what I took away from it.
advertising. Oh my God! Imagine if you said, "Oh, let me target all medical students. Whoever wants to get into medical school, let me target that demographic." You're targeting vulnerable people. How dare you go and look? How dare you go on Tutorful and look for people who are specifically looking for training to get into a medical school, and you're selling that? And how dare you target them? They're vulnerable. They need to get in. They're desperate in some cases. Their life might depend on it, and you're targeting them.
I don't think that's the case. I think that's a qiyas ma'al farik. I think that's saying
Exactly. It's exactly the same thing.
nope,
You're
nope.
saying about Uthman. So what's the difference between us making that
Okay,
assumption about
let's agree to
Uthman?
disagree. Let's agree to disagree, right? I just don't like the idea of people prying on vulnerable Muslims. This is a specific kind of case on vulnerable Muslims to say, buy my product because I'm a Muslim. Why not buy my product because it's the best product? Buy my product because I'm truthful. Buy my product because of other things,
He
right?
does say that. He says all of those things. He says because I will make you money, because I'll teach you how to make money, because I know stuff about
Okay,
how to make money.
fair enough. I think it's unethical to do this.
And he's not promising like millions of pounds. He's not promising a 100% return on your investment. He says,
This,
I'll teach you how to set
yeah.
up your own business. You have to do some work. You cannot talk about this unless you've actually gone through the whole thing. And then if it
This,
doesn't give you, if you do the work and it
mhm.
doesn't give you the return on investment, then you have a chance to kind of speak.
I'm basing it on previous experience and how this is the advice of Umar bin Khattab. So I'm using the advice of Umar bin Khattab here, who said that the believer is someone who isn't kind of a foolish person, who doesn't have that.
Am I foolish for trusting him?
I'm not saying you particularly are foolish.
But it would be foolish to whenever we
I think it's a
advertise,
foolish.
it would be
Yeah.
foolish to fall into advertisements. So if we advertise something, we should never ever like say, "Oh, this is I've been advertised," rather than thinking, "Wow, Alhamdulillah, Facebook knows that I'm interested in making money. Oh no, how dare this person try and manipulate me?" I
I
just think
think
it's
it's
I just think
dangerous. I 100% think it's dangerous. And if you watch a documentary called The Social Dilemma, you'll understand what I mean. Selling information and people trying to, the AI
how much is he
trying
selling
to
it for?
prime you.
How much is
No,
he selling
not
it for?
I'm not saying him in particular. I'm
So
saying
if
in
you're not allowed
general,
to sell information for £5,
selling a person's information.
selling your own information, like you're not allowed to sell a course for £5. Are
No,
you
no,
not
I'm
allowed to
not.
sell
I
information?
don't mean selling information like that. I'm saying selling personal information about your preferences, about where you live in the world, about what kind of websites you visit, things like
This is
that.
another conspiracy, man.
Right?
You're into conspiracies, which I'm.
I don't think that's a conspiracy, honestly. And I'm not someone who's kind of really kind of 5G and this sort of conspiracy. However, I know it exists. It's I'm not saying, oh, watch these videos where Mark Zuckerberg is kind of
Okay, but Abdul Sattar here said,
questioned.
but if the idea is to make money and help people make money, why limit it? He's not limiting it to Muslims. If you're not a Muslim, you can also he'll help you as well. But because he cares more about Muslims, he's targeting Muslims in this specific advert. But if a non-Muslim was to go to his website, he'd help them. So we're gonna have to end it there. Jazakallahu khair.
Okay.
Barakallahu feek.
My final statement is that I don't agree with it. Not the fact that I don't like him. I just don't agree with someone selling on the premise that they're Muslim and you buy it. And that's my opinion. Wallahu ta'ala alam bis-sawab. And I know you don't agree with it.
But he's not selling on the premise that he's a Muslim.
That's what I got from it. That's what I got from it. And he's
Yeah,
selling on the premise that you will make millions and you'll travel the world as well. That's
he's
what I got
never
from
said
it.
millions. He's never said millions.
He's
You
not
have
said that, but it's a
you've
subliminal
made
messaging.
yeah,
How
you've
does
made wrong
advertising
assumptions.
works? How
You
does
need to
advertising work?
yeah
He did not say something literally, but
yeah
he's trying to. Why mention it
yeah.
then? Why
But
mention
you
it
need to.
something you're
Why
trying to
don't
put
you?
the idea into? It's my
But why don't
interpretation
you
of
use
it.
your brain? Why don't you use your brain and think about it?
Sure, Allah Ta'ala alam. This is something we clearly disagree on.
No, but
But yeah,
why are you making that assumption?
it's my
Why are you
interpretation.
making?
It's my
But why is it
interpretation.
negative? Why would you think bad about a Muslim
Because
brother? Are we
of
allowed to think bad about another Muslim?
no, we shouldn't. But I'm
So
being
why are
practical
you?
here. I'm being practical in the sense that I know pyramid schemes have been sold by Muslims as well in the past. That's why.
But what makes you think this is a pyramid scheme? You
It
haven't even
sounds like it to
researched it.
me. It sounds like it to me.
It's a pyramid scheme.
His I first of all, okay, let me tell you, I didn't
But
go out
you
my
haven't
way
even checked,
to watch this video of
Imad.
this
You
guy.
haven't even checked whether he's selling a product. You don't even know what his product is. You don't know what his business is. You don't know what he's even advertising. You haven't even checked anything about him, yet you've made this many assumptions. And I think that would go against inna ba'da dhanni ith, because you're assuming bad things about Muslims. And I think if Muslims keep assuming bad things about other Muslims by default, like this, obviously we're going to be more disunited.
Okay.
Obviously the ummah is going to be fractured. Obviously we're going to hate each other and be jealous for no reason. The reason we have this much disunity is because we don't trust them. We fall immediately by default into jealousy, hatred, and trying to attack other people who are actually trying to help other people. But anyway, Jazakallah khair. And I think like the message of unity, how much we
Okay.
just presume so many assumptions. The Quran says, don't make any assumptions. Whenever somebody comes to you with a bit of information, فَتَبَيَّنُوا, check it properly, find out about it, learn about it. If you don't trust a course and you haven't even done the course, how do you even know what's inside the course? Yet there's so many assumptions. There's so many assumptions that he's preying on vulnerables, he's doing it because he's Muslims, it's a pyramid scheme. And
Okay.
even Abdul
Let me
Fattah has
clarify.
thinks it's a pyramid scheme.
Okay, let me clarify once more as well. I didn't go and seek this guy out. This guy seeked me out by watching the videos, right? I Dr. Orhan from Istanbul, mashallah.
Okay, man, we're gonna have to end it there. Jazakallah khair. Said wants us to relax. The point here, just to summarize, tijara could be secular. This is an interesting point, and this is what I've spoken about a bit today, is that I notice when I'm speaking to Muslims and people that believe in these conspiracies, they tend to be beliefs. I've worked with a lot of Muslims. They tend to be beliefs that life is hard. Muslims believe that life is hard. That might be because our parents grew up and they had to work hard jobs to keep their heads above water. That belief, life is hard, is not an Islamic belief. Life is not hard. If you want to struggle and pretend and complain all the time and find faults in other people, obviously your life's going to be hard, because you don't see goodness when somebody's coming out with something amazing. Instead of saying Alhamdulillah, instead of being grateful, instead of having the message of the Quran, which is Alhamdulillah for the Muslim Ummah and the great people we have, if instead we're going to start gossiping and backbiting them and saying, how dare this person is pyramid, and how he's like an Egyptian goddess, how dare he, and he's eating too much Cocoa Pops, all of these bad
Can you
things
hear me? Can you hear
based
me?
on nothing is not good. So
Can you hear
Jazakallah
me?
khair, and
Hello?
inshallah, I think
Can you hear me?
we
Can you hear
really
me?
need to forward a message of unity.
Can you hear me?
Assalamu alaikum
Can
wa
you hear me?
rahmatullah.